Welcome. We're very happy and privileged to have our friend and colleague, the human representative of the Andromeda Council and Intergalactic Governance Council of the various star systems from the Andromeda and the Milky Way galaxy that carries out various governance and development functions in our two galaxies. Welcome, Tolik.
Alfred, as always, good to catch up with you.
Well, we're very happy to have you here on Exopolitics TV for a kind of a 2011 wrap-up conversation. Looking forward to the birth of 2012. And so here we are.
Yeah, it's been an amazing autumn with a lot of activity. Things have slowed down a little bit, but I think we're going to see an exciting spring in 2012. A lot of developments, probably a lot of ending of old cycles, but beginning of many new ones as well. Yep. So I contacted you because
Right.
I had an opportunity, took the opportunity to watch and listen to your interview with Drunvalo Melchizedek recently,
Right.
and he very gifted man. I was certainly taken with all the different areas he touched on. I certainly am not familiar with everything that he knows, but there was something that sort of stuck with me that I wanted to explore, and for some reason it had significance for me. So last night, as I promised in my note to you, I spent some considerable time with the commander of the primary Andromeda Council biosphere, their ambassador and spiritual sage Tonka, and their vice chairwoman Tanya. And the topic that we talked about was this late 2011 arrival of Comet Holmes, which Drunvalo talked about last night. And the thing that I found interesting was that it didn't break up and just disperse. It broke up and became one of the brightest, largest stars that's ever been recorded, at least in modern times. And that stuck with me. So I got in contact with the three of them, and we discussed the true purpose of the arrival and explosion of Comet Holmes, its transformation into a new crystal aqua blue star, and its meaning for us today, at this moment in time, roughly 4 years later. And what I mentioned to you in my note was the fact that what I learned was absolutely amazing. I learned that the comet came from, if you will, it was sort of like ejected, if you will, from the central core of our universe. And it was purposefully sent toward us to this specific area of space to directly participate and progress in our transformation in becoming a fourth dimensional world. It's really a key part. Its arrival here is a key part of our planned celestial transformation, our upgrade and evolution. Well, why is this relevant now? That's the question I kept asking myself. Why did this sort of stick out in my mind as being important at this moment in time, as Drunvalo reported in your interview with him? Well, my three contacts on the Andromeda Council said it's because our solar system and our planet Earth have finally crossed the galactic equatorial plane region of the Milky Way galaxy during this current phase of our own transformation, and the plasma core of the Earth is now vibrating and emanating at a progressively greater rate of fourth dimensional energy.
Okay.
In a manner of speaking, planet Earth, she, if you will, has matured to the point where she is vibrationally ready in preparation to give birth to her new fourth dimensional self.
Okay.
And therefore planet Earth as a female cosmic body, and I know that many other people have used these descriptions, and we even mentioned this on the first page of the Andromeda Council website, but planet Earth as a female cosmic body with its newer, progressively greater level of fourth dimensional energy emanating from her, from her core, it means that she's finally ready to be fertilized. And it's actually she that is attracting and pulling and drawing to her the transformative cosmic fourth dimensional vibratory male energy from this new crystal aqua blue star that was Comet Holmes.
Okay.
Which was, I was just amazed to hear this. I mean, it's one thing to have if you will, a universal sense for what this means, but to hear this kind of detail, I was kind of awestruck. So they continued to tell me that the Earth will continue to draw this fertilizing fourth dimensional male energy from this new crystal blue star until she herself completes her birthing cycle and emerges as a new fourth dimensional world beginning January 2014. Very much like truly a new fourth dimensional baby world. And this whole process is a main part of the cosmic upgrade process of birthing a new fourth dimensional world. For that matter, this process is happening throughout our whole solar system, as all of the other planets also begin their transformation process into becoming fourth dimensional worlds. Now, I'll touch on a couple of other things which I didn't mention, but which are worth calling out.
Okay.
If we think about the statements on the first page of the Andromeda Council website, where I mention that Mother Earth, in having her contractions, going through the aches and pains of labor, well, sometimes I don't always know why I have the prior knowledge that I do, but in this case, when I wrote it months ago, it was prior knowledge, because they in fact confirmed that the volcanoes popping off, the earthquakes, the aching, the moaning, the groaning, it is in fact part of labor pains of a planet and how fourth dimensional energy affects it, both in terms of the magma under the crust surface as well as the water, because obviously there's some warming going on. So there's all of this is a process that is the preparation for a new fourth dimensional life. Now, I'm going to draw a corollary parallel, which came to me recently, which I found to be absolutely amazing. You remember our conversation back in October about the process of how fourth dimensional life, the process of how a new fourth dimensional human is created?
Right.
Okay? Where a fourth dimensional man and a woman decide to have their child. They align themselves with each other. They focus on each other, and they focus on their intent to have a child. And then in the initial coalescing stage, up in the air between the two of them, the initial form of their human child begins to be created as a bright aqua blue crystal sphere, which at the end of this process, like 25 minutes later, turns into a new human child. And as I kept writing these words of bright crystal blue sphere, I'm like, wait a second, I recognize these words. And so I'm thinking, wow, what an amazing parallel that the same process to birth a fourth dimensional human child we are seeing on a cosmic and universal level. Part of the transformation of change. So what this report, what they had me come to understand, is that the true purpose of this new crystal aqua blue star bathing the Earth with its fourth dimensional male seed energy fertilizing planet Earth. This process, as you can now see, mimics the very same process to create and bring forth a new fourth dimensional human life.
Right.
Like I said, it was amazing to learn all this and grasp it. This conversation with them, it took about 3.5 to 4 hours for me to get all the pieces and
Wow.
ask the questions to sort of come to the total understanding that there certainly is male and female energy not only on this planet as represented by Mother Earth, but throughout the galaxy and throughout the universe, because what they shared with me is that the core of the universe sends out this pod, if you will. And this pod has highly energized fourth dimensional male seed energy. And it gets ejected out and it goes across the cosmos and it arrives here just at the right time to fertilize Mother Earth as she begins her transition to becoming a fourth dimensional planet. And it arrives here at the end of her own 3D cycle, the beginning of her 4D cycle. I was speechless when I got to the place where I fully understood what they were saying. That's pretty much the whole story. But I thought that the story had enough significance and enough beauty to it that would resonate with everybody,
Right.
Who chose to listen.
Right. Yeah. Let me ask you something.
Sure.
When Drunvalo was speaking about Comet Holmes, he put it in terms of various prophecies, including the Hopi prophecy, and called it the blue Kachina, and said that there was a red Kachina that would follow, that this blue Kachina kind of opened a certain period of the prophecies in 2007, and that the end period, and that this is sort of end time, or this time of transformation,
Right.
would go through an indeterminate period that would be no longer than January 1st, 2016. So, I'm just looking at the Mayan kind of, or the Hopi time.
Sure.
And sometime in that period, there would be a red Kachina, or a red celestial body that would appear. Now, you've also spoken of a number of celestial bodies that are due to come into the solar system over an indeterminate time period between now and 2016. And I'm just wondering, is there any correspondence to a red Kachina? Is there, like...
I even before, and I want to acknowledge what Drunvalo was talking about.
Yeah.
I'm certainly at least somewhat familiar with the Hopi prophecies.
Right.
To know that there's prophesized to be a blue Kachina and a red one, and this one certainly speaks of a blue Kachina.
Right.
I think he also mentioned something about, I'm not sure my pronunciation will be right, but Betelgeuse?
Yeah.
As a possible exploding, I guess, star, which will turn into a red giant.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, this conversation between myself and my three contacts it was over 3.5, almost 4 hours, and it was very, very late at night. And I honestly didn't get into the aspect of the red Kachina.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
That aspect of it.
Yeah, because when I'm getting this information, I have to ingest what I hear. I have to absorb it. I've got to be able to understand what they're saying, and then I take notes so I don't lose the information, because it's telepathy. So I've got to ask, I've got to write, I've got to ask, I've got to write. So I was asking and writing and asking and writing simultaneously, and by the end of that 4-hour period, I was.
No, sure. So, so what you're saying, and what we're learning through this model, is that uh, is that the process of dimensional shift actually involves the birth of a new entity, which involves the male female principle,
Yes.
and insemination to give rise to a new entity, that new entity being, quote, the fourth dimensional Earth, which grows out of the interaction of uh, that blue entity that transformed out of Comet Holmes and Gaia, the third dimensional Gaia. Is that more
Right.
or
Oh,
less?
yeah. Well said.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And they let me know that when, if you will, this pod, also called a
Okay.
comet,
Yeah,
was ejected out of the core of our universe, that it's the essence of life.
right.
You know, we look up into the night sky and we see this beautiful new crystal blue glowing star, if you will.
Yeah,
But it is the essence of life. Universally, it is the essence of life. And now it happens to be male vibrational and happens to be male fourth dimensional vibrational, but it's still life.
yeah.
And
Well,
so,
yeah, and that sort of gives a new frame or a new perspective on the, quote, panspermia
I thought of that.
model.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
that life is kind of, and even the term panspermia. I mean, you can look at the, quote, Comet Holmes or whatever that entity is as part of panspermia, a certain type of panspermia that on some cosmic timing, if this model is correct, then makes its way into a Gaia and out. Now, these are things that are not part of the scientific canon, the 3D scientific canon at this time, of course. So
right.
it's hard to there's that one has to process
That's
all of
that's
this to understand Gaia as a living being, and that
yes,
the fourth dimensional Gaia would actually be an off a new being brought about by an interaction with the, and I think that it was mentioned that the blue star that came out of Comet Holmes was the largest object ever to be seen in this solar system, larger even than the sun.
yes, yes. As I was absorbing each segment of this story as it was unfolding, as they were sharing it with me, and I was starting to understand its implications. At one moment, I thought of the image that's on the first page of the Andromeda Council website, which is the image of a young woman, if you will, a celestial young woman representing Earth, birthing herself as a new world. And thinking, wow, I could have put that image on any other page, but I decided that image needed to be on the first page to give a visual representation of what this planet is going through as it evolves from the third dimension to the fourth. And this was I created that website at the end of April and the beginning of May, and I'm writing it intuitively, and I'm at the same time discussing the natural process and the pains of the transition of childbirth, of what it's like to have a child and what a woman needs to go through. And here we are, just a few months later, and Vice Chairwoman Tanya and Tonka, their sage, are telling me about the very male and female process that occurs in the birthing of a new life. In this case, it's a new world. I was awestruck, and watching it sort of all come together.
And
So it's
yeah, and you've also shared with me that the substance of what the Mayans are saying in this case, or at least through what Drunvalo Melchizedek has said in his processing of what the Mayan end-time prophecies are, as he's understood them from interacting with both the Guatemalan and the Yucatan Mayan elders,
Sure.
that you have found that to be very congruent with what you are being told by the Andromeda Council commanders that you interact with.
Oh, certainly. There are many aspects, and this one part is just evidence of one of those aspects of how they're both congruent. I think, as I mentioned before, Drunvalo Melchizedek and the things he's learned, and only a couple of other people have been sharing with an interested public the information that I've been learning. And sort of like the two or three of us are pretty consistent. And Drunvalo is one of the few people that's been consistent over the years with what I've learned. So yeah, it's interesting.
Right.
It's exciting, and it's reaffirming. It's really reaffirming.
Yeah, I have heard that the Mayan calendar is in fact a Pleiadian calendar because it's a galactic calendar, and the Pleiadians as a star system have a seat on the Andromeda Council. So therefore, it would stand to reason that there's a congruency behind this information if all these things are correct.
Well, there's no mistake there. Both the commander of the primary Andromeda Council biosphere and Tonka, their ambassador and star person sage, they are both from the planet Ducote. And the planet Ducote is in the Tegeta star system. That's in the Pleiades.
Okay.
And that's the same star system that also contains the planet Era, where Semyasi, who's part of the whole Billy Meyer Pleiadian contact case,
Right.
is known to be from.
Okay.
And just for the record, Semyasi, if you translated it, essentially means star woman.
Okay.
It's a public persona name.
Right.
So she also had a public persona name.
Right.
But yes, certainly the people from the Pleiades play a number of major roles and have throughout the years. But Tonka, their sage, and the commander are both from the Pleiades by virtue of Tegeta, the star system. Sure, certainly. And so, what's the point there? Bring us back to center. The point is, the planet Ducote, they are the race of origin of most of the Native Americans on the North American continent from about the Mississippi River west. That's at least according to Tonka, their sage. That's a lot of people.
Right.
And of course, when they landed on the Earth, they migrated to a lot of places. And we can talk about that story. That story itself is about 2 hours sometime.
Okay.
But you have a people who populated the North American continent via a lot of other routes, and two-thirds of the U.S. These are all people that are originally from the planet Ducote. So originally Pleiadian, at least genetically. So it's all part of an unfolding picture that all of us are learning about, including myself.
Yeah. Well, I'm very, very glad that all of this eventuated. When I was contacted by Drunvalo's office for an interview, and everything eventuated for that interview, which is really kind of a synchronistic event. I didn't know that he was going to talk about Comet Holmes, and I still remember that event as the Blue Kachina. And it seems that being able now to talk with you about it in this context and bringing it around to giving birth, Gaia, the female, and the feminine, and Drenvilo talking about that part of the Mayan end times prophecies, which are just coming out now, because half of the prophecies, he says, have not been spoken yet publicly, is about the return of the feminine, the return of the divine feminine. So here is, here is the female Earth really coming out again.
Right, and you make a really good point. I asked them actually at the end of this,
yeah,
me learning all this last night. I asked them. I said, "Why is this process happening?" And maybe it may seem
yeah,
to other people that this would be a ridiculously obvious question. But I said, we've been through 3.5 hours of conversation. Why is this process happening? Why is Drunvalo talking about it now at this moment in time?
yeah,
And their answer was simply that all things had to come into alignment, that the planet Earth as a woman, she needed to be vibrationally ready. The solar system needed to be in the right place so that she could receive what's necessary. The seed, the male
right,
seed from
right,
the center of the universe, in order for her to birth herself into a new fourth dimensional world.
right.
And I was like, okay, all right, that makes good sense. The whole, when you put all the pieces together, it's a rational story.
Yeah, and so I guess now, as we're entering 2012, we're in either that gestational or that birthing process.
Yes. Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah. It's an amazing story. I felt really blessed to be able to have the nudge to ask them about this new crystal blue sphere and what it really meant, because there was some kind of nudge, an inner nudge that said to me, there's something more than just the obviousness of, the birth of a big new star. It had more meaning to me. So I decided to ring up the gang and say, hey, what's the story here?
Yeah, and it's the universal processes of creation.
Right, exactly. Yep. So that's the whole story, and I just thought I'd share it with you and everybody else.
Well, thank you. And thank you very much for everything that you've shared with us and for your work, Tolek, with the Andromeda Council on behalf of all of us here on Earth, and for your work during 2011. And we look forward to your being with us again on Exopolitics TV in 2012.
Alfred, you're very kind. Thank you. I feel blessed. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and I look forward to 2012, especially the spring. It's going to be an amazing springtime. Lots of activities. So we'll be busy.
Exactly.
Hey, have a great holiday and a wonderful Christmas with your family. And
thank you.
I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Excellent.
All right. Take care. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.